Thanks for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo says the government will secure safety measures to make sure any foreign licensed doctors looking after people in South Korea are fully competent. He also called on medical professors who are taking a day off today to return to work immediately. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has shrugged off U.S. warnings over Rafah, saying his country will fight with its fingernails. Washington said that it's not abandoning Israel. Celebrating Victory Day, Russian leader Vladimir Putin renewed his nuclear threats to the West and said that his country's nuclear forces are always on alert. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo has ensured that the government will strictly prevent unverified medical practitioners from treating citizens. He also called on medical professors who are taking a day off today to return to their patients. Our Yoon has the latest.
At Friday's Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters meeting, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo said the government will ensure strict safety measures to ensure that all medical practitioners treating South Korean citizens are fully checked and verified. This comes as the Health Ministry announced earlier this week that it plans to allow doctors with foreign licenses to provide medical services here. But this will be limited to when the healthcare alert level reaches serious, as it is now due to the walkout. The Health Ministry gave official notice of a revision to the medical law on Wednesday, stating this was to address the shortage of doctors that is creating a healthcare gap. During the meeting, Prime Minister Han also urged medical professors who are suspending outpatient treatment for 1 day a week this Friday to remain with their patients.
I hope the doctors act in the best interest of the patients. I believe that the majority of doctors who are at the hospitals are already doing so.
Medical professors began taking a day off each week starting on April 30th due to fatigue from covering for the thousands of trainee doctors who left their positions in late February. However, this is not expected to lead to any major disruption to the medical system. Medical professors will continue to provide inpatient treatment and surgery for emergency or critical patients. Also on Friday, the government will be submitting its supporting data for the increase of the admissions quota as requested by the court, and will hold its second meeting of the Special Presidential Committee on Medical Reform. In the first medical reform meeting, which major doctor groups refused to participate in, discussions included increasing medical personnel and revising medical laws. In the second meeting, the government says it will delve deeper into these topics and discuss setting up specialist committees and moving forward with the chosen reform tasks. Meanwhile, the medical community is expected to express its position regarding President Yoon's press conference on Thursday. The president noted the lack of a unified alternative proposed by medical organizations, emphasizing the government's commitment to steadily advancing medical reforms following the roadmap it has outlined. Yoon, Arirang News.
Today, May 10th, marks the 2-year anniversary of the Yoon administration. President Yoon on Thursday reflected on his past 2 years while laying out his vision for the next 3. Our Kim Do-yeon tells us more.
The very first message from President Yoon as the public tuned in on Thursday to his first press conference in 21 months was that he was sorry for coming up short in improving people's lives over the past 2 years. And with the decision to face the media coming after he vowed to enhance communication following the ruling People Power Party's losses in the general election, he called for cooperation at the opposition-led National Assembly.
국민 여러분, 정부가 민생을 위해 일을 더 잘하려면 국회의 협력이 반드시 필요합니다. 앞으로 여야 정당과 소통을 늘리고 민생 분야 협업도 더욱 강화하겠습니다. 국회에도 당부 말씀을 드립니다. 정쟁을 멈추고 민생을 위해 정부와 여야가 함께 일하라는 것이 민심이라고 생각합니다.
He answered the 2 most anticipated questions himself during the Q&A session that followed, but without a change in stance that his aides had previously reflected. But for the first time, President Yoon apologized for what he called his wife's unwise actions, referring to her accepting a luxury bag back in 2022, but he refrained from commenting about the recently opened investigation by the prosecution, saying any comments could be seen as influencing a fair investigation. Regarding the death of a young Marine who was swept away by flood water during a search and rescue mission following a flood last year, and allegations of the government interfering with an investigation into the incident, he hinted at vetoing the special probe bill passed by the Assembly, at least for now.
지금 이렇게 진행되는 것을 잘 지켜보고 아마 모든 절차가 마무리되면 또 국민 여러분께 수사 당국에서 아마 상세하게 수사 경과와 또 결과를 잘 설명을 할 것인데 그걸 보고 만약에 국민들께서 이거는 봐주기 의혹이 있다, 납득이 안 된다라고 하시면은 그때는 제가 특검하자고 먼저 주장을 하겠습니다.
There was also a surprising announcement as he explained his next 3 years in office. He said he's seeking to create a new ministry to respond to the urgent issue of South Korea's low birth rate, with significant administrative power or, in his terms, aggressive policies, unlike now, when only consultative groups have been formed for this.
저출생 대응 기획부 장관이 사회부총리를 맡도록 해서 교육, 노동, 복지를 아우르는 정책을 수립하고 단순히 복지 정책 차원을 넘어 국가 아젠다가 되도록 하겠습니다.
As for medical reform, with the doctors' collective action against the government plan to raise the medical school enrollment quota to tackle the nation's need for more doctors, he reiterated that the administration will push through while calling on doctors to come up with a combined opinion on the current process. 김도현, Arirang News.
And also highlighted in his address was the direction of Seoul's foreign diplomacy. That includes tightening the South Korea-U.S. alliance and handling Russia-North Korea ties. Our senior presidential correspondent, Oh Soo-young reports.
President Yoon said he is confident South Korea's alliance with the United States will stay solid, amid concerns that a possible return of former President Donald Trump would undermine bilateral security cooperation. This came at a press conference held to mark 2 years since he took office. Asked about Trump's recent remarks on South Korea's share of defense costs to keep American troops in the country, hinting at their possible withdrawal if Seoul doesn't increase its contribution, Yoon said he wouldn't speculate on the upcoming US election, but said he is confident that the solid alliance between Korea and the US will not change. Defense sharing costs during the past Trump administration had been a major source of contention, and Seoul already agreed to hike its contribution 13.9% from 2019 to over $1 billion in 2021. As the current agreement expires at the end of the year, the two sides began their first round of talks in Hawaii last month. Yoon said various negotiations and issues can be resolved amicably, adding there is strong support for the bilateral alliance from the US Senate, House, and both Democratic and Republican camps. Having emphasized the central role of Seoul's trilateral cooperation with Washington and Tokyo in his video message before the press conference, Yoon also indicated he will continue strengthening relations with Japan despite their historical differences.
우리의 미래를 위해서 또 구체적으로는 북핵 대응을 위해서 또 양국의 경제 협력을 위해서 또 인태지역과 글로벌 사회에서 양국의 어떤 공동 아젠다에 대한 어떤 리더십 확보를 위해서 협력해야 된다고 생각합니다.
Also, when asked about North Korea's illegal arms cooperation with Russia, Yoon said Pyongyang's export of weapons in itself backs the illegal conduct of war in Ukraine, and as it violates United Nations Security Council resolutions, Seoul is taking necessary responses. He acknowledged Seoul and Moscow's ties are in an uneasy situation, adding the two sides should cooperate where they can, but Seoul will oppose or make adjustments based on their different positions. Looking beyond the Korean Peninsula and its immediate neighbourhood, President Yoon reflected on the progress made so far on South Korea's goal of becoming a global pivotal state, a responsible contributor to the international community. His office noted that Yoon has held 153 summits with some 97 world leaders since his inauguration, expanding South Korea's ties with countries in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, 3 major Gulf states and Pacific Island nations. While South Korea looks to broaden its access to overseas markets, the country also aims to contribute to global development efforts, raising its official development assistance budget by 31% compared to last year, to $4.57 billion. The leader is set to host the first ever Korea-Africa summit next month with some 54 African nations in tow, focusing on shared growth, sustainability and solidarity. Oh Seong, Arirang News.
Nuclear envoys from South Korea, the U.S. and Japan have reaffirmed their commitment to counter threats posed by the deepening military ties between North Korea and Russia. The U.S. State Department said South Korea's Lee Junil sat down with his American and Japanese counterparts Jung Pak and Hiroyuki Namatsu in Tokyo on Thursday, where they highlighted the importance of maintaining close trilateral cooperation in addressing North Korean threats. The three sides also discussed human rights matters, including protection for North Korean asylum seekers, as well as the issues of abductions, detainees, and unrepatriated prisoners of war. South Korea's military is currently conducting a three-day exercise aimed at defending the country's 5 westernmost border islands against North Korean attacks. The training, led by the Northwest Islands Defense Command, involves the Marines, Army, Navy, and Air Force. The Marines explained that this is an annual defensive exercise focused on improving the military's response capabilities. The exercise includes live fire drills and counterterrorism training. Head of the Armed Forces Daejeon Hospital, Dr. Lee Guk-jung, also took part in the exercise to strengthen the military's medical capabilities. The drills kicked off on Wednesday and will wrap up today. President Yoon has promoted his Secretary for Civil Society and Communication, Chung Kwang-sam, to the role of Senior Secretary to the President for Civil and Social Agenda. The President's Chief of Staff, Chung Jin-seok, announced this decision on Friday, saying Jun, a longtime journalist who has twice worked as a presidential secretary, is suitable for this role, which listens and coordinates the diverse voices of civil society to reflect them in national governance. Jun emphasized communicating with the press as his main duty and vowed to listen to society carefully. The appointment comes as the previous Senior Secretary for Civil and Social Agenda, Hwang Sang-moo, resigned late March after a controversy regarding him allegedly making intimidating statements to a reporter while at lunch together. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu remains stubbornly behind proceeding with operations in Gaza. The U.S. continues to caution that an attack on Rafah could weaken Israel's position. Shin Se-byuk reports.
In a video message on Thursday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israelis were ready to fight with their fingernails, pushing back against the U.S. warning that it would halt weapons support for a planned operation in Gaza.
If necessary, we will fight with our fingernails. But we have much more than fingernails, and with that same strength of spirit, with God's help, together we will win.
Chief Israeli military spokesperson Daniel Hagari also confirmed that there was sufficient ammunition to carry out all planned military operations.
The army has munitions for the missions it has planned, and for the missions in Rafah too, we have what we need.
Defense Minister Yoav Gallant also expressed a firm commitment to the Rafah operation, stating the goal of achieving security would not be given up.
The state of Israel cannot be subdued. We will stand strong. We will achieve our goals. We will hit Hamas, we will hit Hezbollah, and we will achieve security.
As of Thursday, the Israeli military reported that 150,000 civilians have evacuated from eastern Rafah. They added that during the operation, at least 10 Hamas underground tunnels were discovered and 50 Hamas militants were killed. Meanwhile, the White House, while stating that the decision ultimately rests with Israel, maintained pressure, arguing that an attack on Rafah would only undermine Israel's position.
An enduring defeat on Hamas certainly remains the Israeli goal, and we share that goal with them. Smashing into Rafah, in his view, will not advance that objective.
This came amid reports that both Israeli and Hamas delegations have exited ceasefire negotiations in Cairo. To that, Washington said it was assessing Hamas' response to a proposed ceasefire and hostage release deal, but did not disclose any details of what was agreed. 신세벽, Arirang News.
Russia celebrated its Victory Day on Thursday. The leader, Vladimir Putin, said the country will do everything to prevent a global clash, but warned that its nuclear forces are always on alert. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Victory Day has long been a special day for Russia, as it commemorates the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany in 1945. To mark the day on Thursday, Russian President Vladimir Putin held his Victory Day speech at Red Square in Moscow. There, he stressed that Russia will do all it can to prevent a global clash, but added that his country will not sit idly by if threatened, as its nuclear forces are always in combat readiness.
Russia will do everything to prevent a global conflict, but at the same time, will not allow anyone to threaten us. Our strategic forces are always in combat readiness.
While the Russian leader has used nuclear threats throughout the more than 2 years of the Ukraine war, his rhetoric in the past year has become increasingly belligerent. Last year, Putin pulled out of a nuclear test ban treaty and a key arms reduction agreement with the U.S. Earlier this week, he ordered his military to conduct nuclear drills near Ukraine, stoking fears that he could use tactical nuclear weapons on the battlefield. Meanwhile, Thursday's Victory Day parade showcased rows of Russian military equipment. However, it was notably scaled back compared to previous years, as many resources have been mobilized for the Ukraine front. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Within the next 3 decades, a quarter of Asia's population will be over 60. With South Korea already heading into a rapidly aging society, people in their 60s and older are heading back to school for more than just financial stability. Our An Sung-jin has this story.
This is just another day at school for 67-year-old An Soo-hee. After decades running her own clothing business, she's back at school, paying attention and jotting down notes to level up her skills and future job prospects.
People now live up to 100 years, and I haven't even made it past 2/3, which means I have so much time left. I enjoy studying here, and once I graduate, I either want to volunteer at a nursing home or provide counseling for those in need.
There are more than 1,300 passionate students like An at this lifelong education institution.
Studying here is one of the best things I've done in my life. I feel like I've upgraded myself. After all, what is life without being able to enjoy it?
Just like any other high school, this institute teaches basic subjects such as science, math, English, and how to use computers. Supported by the Seoul Metropolitan Office of Education, it provides the entirety of its education curriculum at no cost.
We provide the opportunity to learn and find a job. I encourage students to continue the process of learning. It helps them maintain their health. That's why our school offers a variety of classes with musical instruments, dance and sports.
More of the aging population are looking to go back into the workforce. The labor force participation rate for those 60 and above reached 43% in the first quarter of 2024. That's up from 39% for the same period in 2021.
With the population in Asia aging rapidly, many people will have to work well past their 60th birthday. But a senior economist explains why it's not just money that motivates seniors to go back to work.
So one is not necessarily the immediate financial need, but because you have a longer life ahead of you, you would think maybe as long as I can work and healthy, just because of those longevity risks, you want to work longer. Second is more to do with the connection to the society.
With more seniors looking to re-enter the workforce, companies and employees need to adapt to this changing population dynamic. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
The Korea Drone Expo is back for its 2024 edition, with the sport of the future, drone soccer, taking center stage. Our Lee Soo-jin went to check it out.
It's a soccer match, but instead of a ball flying through the air, it's multiple drones. This drone soccer match is taking place at the 2024 Korea Drone Expo, a 3-day event that kicked off on Thursday. Attendees here can see how drones are used now, as well as how they might be used in the future, such as drone soccer.
South Korean companies are the only ones that can make drone soccer balls with carbon materials that meet international standards.
This year's International Drone Soccer Festival, one of the highlights of the Korea Drone Expo, is the largest ever with more than 400 players from 20 countries taking part. Drone soccer is a new ICT-integrated sport founded in Korea that's now being played across the world. It involves 2 teams where each player has their own drone and a position. And the winner is determined by the team that scores the most goals by maneuvering drones through the opposing team's goal.
It's fun to see which strategy leads to a win. I'm most looking forward to seeing what game strategies the foreign players use.
Really getting to know the team and bonding together in order to come together and make a good play be my favorite part. What I am looking forward to the most. Gain a good experience and of course to play against the other Korean teams.
The fast-growing popularity of drone soccer was also reflected in the first session of the Federation of International Drone Soccer Association, where discussions were held about the first ever Drone Soccer World Cup that's scheduled to take place in 2025. But participants from all over the world aren't just here for drone soccer. This year's event also featured a separate section for global drone enterprises from 12 different countries for the first time to provide a glimpse into global drone trends. With the ongoing drone soccer matches and drone booth displays, attendees from all over the world will continue to witness various applications of drone technology. 이수진, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. In Senegal, a Boeing 737 skidded off a runway before takeoff and caught on fire on Thursday. At least 10 people were reported injured. According to the Senegalese Transport Ministry, the Air Senegal flight operated by Transair was heading to Bamako in Mali from Senegal's main airport in the capital Dakar, carrying 79 passengers. The Blaise Diagne International Airport closed immediately following the accident at around 1 a.m. local time, but resumed operations at around 11 a.m. Neither Boeing nor flight operator Transair have commented on the incident yet. This was a third incident involving Boeing planes in the past few days, following 2 incidents in Turkey where no casualties were reported. In the Vatican, Pope Francis formally proclaimed 2025 a Holy Year or Jubilee, one of the Roman Catholic Church's most important events. The Holy Year is set to begin late this December. Pope Francis asked for gestures of solidarity in a world beset by war, poverty and hunger. The once-in-a-quarter-century event is expected to bring to Rome next year some 30 million pilgrims seeking forgiveness for their sins. Pope Francis, who will turn 88 in December, will see the start of the Holy Year on Christmas Eve by opening the Basilica's bronze door, symbolizing the doorway of salvation for Catholics. Former U.S. President Donald Trump's youngest son, Barron Trump, has been selected to serve as a Florida delegate to the Republican National Convention. Barron Trump, an 18-year-old high school student, will serve as one of the 41 delegates from Florida to the GOP convention in Milwaukee in July. The delegate list, which was released on Wednesday, included many of Trump's family members, including Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and his fiancée Kimberly Guilfoyle, and Tiffany Trump and her husband Michael Boulos. Pop star Justin Bieber and his wife, model Hailey, announced in a social media post that they're expecting their first child. The Canadian multi-genre singer, who initially garnered fame with the 2010 hit song Baby, and his wife confirmed with media outlets on Thursday that Hailey is just over 6 months pregnant. 30-year-old Justin and 27-year-old Hailey were married in September 2018. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Much of the country is having warmer temperatures and plenty of sunshine. UV rays are more intense nationwide, so please put on a good amount of sunblock as sunburn can sneak up on you. Afternoon temperatures are 1 to 4 degrees higher this afternoon in most places. Seoul at 24 degrees Celsius this afternoon, but Gyeongsangdo provinces and surrounding areas are having early summer ratings, topping out at 28 degrees in Daegu, Gyeongju at 29 degrees. Air quality will be normal nationwide. Today's bright weather is set to take a turn with rain this weekend. It sure does rain a lot this season, and it will rain down heavily through early Sunday. Further south, we'll see heavier showers. Jeju and the south coast could see up to 80 millimeters. Central parts of the country could see 5 to 30 millimeters of showers, but most of rain should go away by Sunday morning. Then, sunny and warm weather returns next week, with Wednesday marking Buddha's birthday here in Korea. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have at this hour. Arirang News will be back at 2 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.